No, I didn't go to EVO. I did not go to EVO because they were purchased by the Saudi Arabian government, to be more specific, and then are engaging in sports washing. And boy, when they went up there to do their EVO announcements, the crowd sure went mild. They were like, we've got EVO Singapore. And you know how you're public speaking, you pause for the crowd to get hype? It was like, we've got this. And there wasn't a fucking word in there. It's the same thing as last year, Arc World Tour. They were in Korea. And they're like, guess what, guys? Next year, Arc World Tour is going back to the US. And the crowd was like, okay, I guess, fuck me. Like they were like, you want me to get hyped for that? Like, well, I'm not going. Then like that shit's far, you know? I mean, they announced this in New York though, which is pretty hype. I'm gonna get Mom Donnie to go, bro. We can hit the bodega on the way there. I got the 10 a.m. shift. Hit me up. The other bit of news, EVO announced this when it was purchased, that they were going to solve locals forever. Their plan, I'm sure at the time, was basically non-existent. I don't think they had any plan, and they were like, we should probably make a plan. And the plan is they are giving away $1 million in the hands of local organizers. They basically just said, we have a lot of money. They said, we have a big list of all of the locals we could find worldwide. We looked around and we had all this stuff, and you can add your local on here, right? They have their interactive locals map. You may be like, this is really awesome. This is a great place to engage with and find locals, but there's already multiple versions of this that already exist. For example, this is Ultra David's list of locals, and it's sorted by country and then like sub area, you know, like state or province or whatever, where the metro area is, where the venue is, what the address is, how often they meet, what day they meet, what kind of event it is, and what games they run. And this is Ultra David's sheet of locals. As you can see, it is far more comprehensive and it's updated. And Speedkick's also built the same thing. There's also a Find My Locals FGC thing. It's just another version of a thing that people have already put together. I think probably the more valuable part to a lot of people is the money. And they're saying like, basically, we can give you money for venue fees, production, staffing, graphic designers, trailer makers, social medias, introductions to commentators, or pretty much anything to run your event. Now, the real question on basically everybody's mind, what's the stipulation? Like, what are they trying to do? The surface level thing is, well, EVO was purchased by the government of Saudi Arabia, then expanded to take over every basically major space in every country, and is like now running 9 events a year instead of the 2 it was running before and then 3. This is like, well, we own all of the majors. Why don't we then offer money to all the locals, so then we own the fighting game community from the local to the regional to the major level, and then have basically total control of every single part, because you know that's essentially what this is going to do. Now, is there a world where like the stipulations for this are really lax, and essentially what you're getting from this is your local organizer just gets free money from EVO for nothing? Potentially. It could just be that if you sign up for this and you can prove that your local is real, EVO will just hand you a bucket of cash, and then there's like not a lot of downsides. Maybe that the fighting game community members inside EVO have convinced them that basically $1 million is nothing, and they could just give away $1 million stipulation free to try to sports wash, just be like, we're really cool here, and like give everybody lots of money to just be like, isn't this really awesome? Like, you don't have to put EVO branding on a bunch of your stuff, or like shout out EVO, or EVO can use all your footage. There's no like loophole of like, oh, as part of being part of this, EVO gains access to whatever, or you have to like not have conflicting sponsors, or like, you know, stuff like that, which people I think are concerned about, and like, you know, could be part of the deal or could not be part of the deal. But yeah, I mean, it is reaching even further beyond ownership of tentpole and flagship events inside the fighting game community, and getting even deeper into like the true grassroots part of the community that exists currently outside of their reach. And the real thing is, like, even if at first it seems like a lot of really awesome money that your community can get, what are both stipulations now and stipulations later, and expectations about what they expect you to do or what you have to do to be part of it, if anything? Like, nobody knows. If you've seen the sentiment about this, you can probably tell by the ratio of retweets to likes that there's a lot of people who are quite hesitant to accept this money. There's a lot of people who are like, dude, fuck, it's rad. Who cares? You're stealing money from them and just giving it to your locals. Where they're like, it's correct to take money from the government of Saudi Arabia, and you can just allow women and gay people at your event, and they'll never know. You got their ass. These are like literally the tweets I was seeing on my timeline. They're like, they'll never know. You can sneak them in. It's a really unfortunate reality that people are living in, of like, I support the LGBTQ people who come to my events, but I could also support them more with like 5 more consoles that have Guilty Gear Strive on them. That's the tweets and stuff you're seeing from people. It's very unfortunate because this is what the end goal is that you are willing to like look, you know, you squint and like look past some of the problems of like what's going on to try to just take the money. They have asked me, why don't I just go to EVO, accept the EVO paycheck, and then get that big sack of cash from doing EWC or Gamers Aid or EVO or whatever it was back before, and then use that money and re-spend it back into the community in like a positive way? I would say that's an interesting question, but then I would counter with EWC and Gamers 8 have been happening for a long time. Can you like explain to me where all of the big sacks of cash for all of these events so far have been spent on our community's enrichment by all the people who've gone there and taken the bags? Like, I can tell you, I spent my own money from sponsorships and other things to run the slam. A net loss for me, especially the first few times I run it, but it does cost me a lot of money, and I pay a lot of people out, and then I pay taxes on all the money it generates, and I pay my staff pretty well for their time commitment to the event. You know, I spend money on stuff like that, but I don't have backing from stuff like this. And more importantly, like, why would they just give away $1 million for nothing? Surely they want something out of giving away $1 million. This is not an expensive spend for them compared to many of the other endeavors they do, but like, it is still a lot of money to give away for nothing. So what's the catch? Is like, what's going on here? It's also unfortunate because I talked about it on stream a little while ago, but like ICFC is a community version of this where they're trying to team up with locals all over the world. ICFC is run by Tenno Media, who used to do a lot of the production stuff for EVO. They still do some production stuff for them, and they do production for a lot of the fighting game tours and a lot of fighting game events around the world. They built a program like this called ICFC that was like community led. It's a very similar idea to this, and now I think EVO's kind of gobbling this up with a much larger amount of money to basically do the same thing. One thing about this is you may be like, dude, the people who own this are just, they're awesome. Like, I fucking love these people. They're just so rad. And that's fair if that's how you feel. There's maybe a bigger situation going on here, perhaps from the perspective of someone who likes the community. Because let's say you don't have a big problem with the Saudi ownership of EVO. You personally have no issue with it, right? It's unlikely they'll want to own this forever and just burn money for like a frivolous reason for forever. If they buy up EVO and then expand EVO to 9 new locations and then also build a 10th EVO championship crossover game event and then also give away $1 million for locals, and they have ownership of all the major events everywhere, and every other event on the calendar is crowded, viewer fatigue, and like people are not interested in other community or grassroots led events because EVO is just taking over the whole calendar year, and it hurts all of the other things in the community while they're doing this. And then they go around and like gobble up all of the locals everywhere, and everything they don't take a part of is damaged by the impact of how often they're doing stuff everywhere else on the map. The whole ecosystem that's not EVO gets hurt, but EVO builds up this awesome thing that's cool for fighting game players, right? Besides that, what happens when they stop spending money and they just decide to sell off EVO? If everything in the community is funded and owned by this, and then everything else that's not is hurt by the acquisition, then you have a weaker grassroots scene, a weaker regional and major scene, and a weaker like national and international event scene because of the EVO acquisition. And you may be like, well, everything will go back to how it was before, but like, who's going to pay for it all? And what happens to all of the events that stop existing because something like this is overlapping with them and their event gets smaller, and then that makes them not want to run an event the next year, and then that major's gone, and the next thing happens, and the next thing happens. Even if you think one thing they're doing is cool, when they start to make choices you disagree with, if they own everything, it doesn't matter because they can make those choices unilaterally. There's no stopping them. Point being is that I do not have enough evidence to come to a conclusion. If you're talking about like ownership of something like this, I don't know if you've paid attention to the Saudi buyout of various parts of media, things like combat sports and golf as an example. I mean, they just dumped golf. They built this entire golf league and then they just were like, and they just pulled the plug and it's all gone. Yes, as well. Soccer/football as well. Like basically everything. The other thing that should concern you, and I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about, is that the Tekken World Tour finals were absorbed by EVO Singapore. That seems pretty fucking alarming. And like not a lot of people really said anything about it, you know? I think it was great. Fernman tweeted, and I quote, "Maybe I'm a little woke, but anybody else think their font is a little racies?" And now it's gone. The poster's legitimately gone. You may notice there's a little crossover here at the Marina Bay Sands, which is also where EVO Singapore is. January 14th to the 17th. The Tekken World Tour and EVO Singapore are the same weekend in Singapore together at the same location. I don't know how else to tell you this, but if you don't think this fucking sucks, then I don't think you and I are on the same page. The Tekken World Tour finals are now EVO Singapore. Because you're like, I don't care who bought EVO or whatever. Like, you know, I still got all my games and stuff. And then they're like, don't worry, we'll be at your local soon. And also, we're going to take over the TWT finals. And that's going to be rad. And like, also, like, yeah, I mean, everything about this is poop from a butt, I think. It's not great. I haven't seen like a single other person talk about this. I don't know if it's because everybody is just not paying attention or if everybody who works there just doesn't want to say it sucks. Because, like, let's be honest. Even if you work for EVO and you think EVO's rad, how is this good for if you're a Tekken fan? It makes your event feel like it doesn't matter. Your Tekken World Tour, the culmination of the year, you don't even have your own weekend for how rad your game is everybody just like, I get to work 2 jobs at once. I get to go work EVO Singapore and the Tekken World Tour finals. Smile. This kind of stuff is just gonna keep happening. This is just them making stuff worse because they can, because they own everything. I mean, what happens when they just move EVO Japan to like the same weekend as Capcom Cup? They just, no. And they just move EVO Vegas to New York and just put that shit over Arc World Tour final. No. And they just, you know, they just eat up all the tours and put them in the same weekend. So EVO is the most important thing that matters at all times. I mean, if it's not clear the objective here, I don't know what to tell you. They are trying to eat up your locals. They're eating up the TWT finals. They're going to eat up finals for all your favorite games. And then everything will point to EWC because who cares about EVO when you can just point everybody to EWC? And like, that's the plan. To me, this is like astounding. And also has not really been covered at all. TWT finals into Tifa teaser trailer, bro, it might be the Tifa teaser around this time. Fuck. If Capcom drops the Tifa teaser trailer at EVO Singapore the weekend of the TWT finals, they deserve to get their ass beat. Somebody gotta find out who did that shit. That is evil. There's gonna be a guy playing Yujiro. I'm not owned.